Welcome to the Author Your Life podcast, where you can write a new script for your life and become the hero of your story. I'm your host, David McRae. You are the author of your life. Let's get started.
All you have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to you.
In my experience, there's no such thing as luck.
It is not our abilities that show what we truly are. It is our choices.
Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of Author Your Life. And today we're going to be talking about luck, and specifically how there's no such thing as luck. There kind of is, but not in the way that we traditionally look at it. For those of you who listen regularly to my podcast, you'll know that one of the quotes that I have in the introductory music is from Obi-Wan Kenobi in A New Hope, where he says, "In my experience, there's no such thing as luck." Now, why have I put that quote into the introductory music? Because what I believe in life and what research is demonstrating is that we make our own luck. Through the choices and decisions that we make and the actions that we take, we create our results. We create our outcomes. And this is not some fancy woo-woo affirmations. This is what science and research is demonstrating to us. When we look at positive psychology and we look at research into optimism, the science tells us again and again that people who are optimistic, people who have a hope for a future and the belief in their abilities to solve a problem are happier, they're more productive, they're more successful, they're healthier. You can just take out a whole list of things that improve when you have this optimistic outlook, when you believe in the ability to create your own luck. Again, if we look into slightly more traditional psychological research and we look at the research of Carol Dweck into growth mindset, what she demonstrates in her research is that individuals who believe that when they put in enough effort and when they work hard enough at something, they can create a result. That is characteristic of the growth mindset. She's demonstrated through her studies that when people believe that putting in enough of their own effort allows them to learn and grow and improve, those people have better outcomes in life. They're more successful, they're more productive, they're happier. I could list this on and on, throwing research study after research study at you to try and prove this point. But I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to focus on just one really interesting experiment on how we can measure luck and how we can measure our perception of luck. And this research comes from a gentleman called Richard Wiseman, who's written an entire book called The Luck Factor, all about luck, exploring luck, and demonstrating that luck isn't this thing that is kind of granted to us by God, life, or the universe. It's not something that happens accidentally. It's actually quite a deliberate process. And he demonstrated it really nicely with this particular experiment. So what they did was they got participants to come into a laboratory and they just ran some random routine tests on them. They were pretending that they were testing for cognitive ability. They were just giving the participants something to do. It was a ruse, it was a setup. Because whilst the participants were distracted, what they did is they got other experimenters and they went into the building that the laboratory was in. And along the path that each participant had to walk to get to the lab, they put coins, they put change down the corridors, up and down the stairs, in the hallway, in the foyer area. And this was the real experiment. Because as part of the study, what they did was they assessed each participant's self-measure of luck. They asked them a set of questions that captured how lucky someone believed that they were. So what they had was they had some participants who considered themselves to be lucky individuals, some participants who considered themselves to be unlucky individuals. And so they compared what happened when each of those groups of participants walked out of the lab after this ruse, after the setup of doing all these random tests that didn't really mean anything. And what they found was that when the lucky participants walked out of the laboratory, they spotted and picked up far more of those loose coins than the participants who can consider themselves unlucky. So what this research experiment showed was that luck is a real factor, but it's not something that's granted to us by some omniscient force. Luck is a decision that we make. If we consider ourselves luckier individuals, we start to find and create luckier outcomes. Because what this experiment showed was that the same number of coins, the same amount of coins were placed in the path of these two groups of participants. Each set of participants had the same opportunity to pick up those coins, but only one group grasped that opportunity. Because they believed themselves to be luckier people, they perceived the world in different ways. They were able to spot opportunities more readily than their contemporaries who believed that they weren't so lucky. And that was the difference. And that is the difference that I want to illustrate to you here in this episode. That we make our own luck. There's a phrase that I love, which is, the harder we try, the luckier we get. If you're able to embrace an optimistic outlook, if you embrace the growth mindset principles of effort and hard work, you will be a luckier person. You will create and find more outcomes that seem to be through luck. And you know what? Sometimes we do benefit from a coincidence or a fortunate circumstance. But this happens so much more when we believe in our own ability to make these things happen. And that's the point that I hope to illustrate to you here on today's episode. So, do you feel lucky, punk? As Clint Eastwood said to us. Do you feel lucky? Does this episode make you realize that your luck is under your control? So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I look forward to sharing more with you in future episodes. But until next time, remember that you are the author of your life. You hold the pen and you can write whatever script you want for yourself. So go out today and write yourself a beautiful story. I'll speak to you soon. David. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd appreciate it hugely if you could head over to iTunes and leave a rating and review for the podcast. With your review, please be as honest and detailed as you can be. Because with honest and detailed feedback, that helps me to adapt and grow this podcast to most serve you, the listener. Also, if you enjoyed this episode, then make sure you subscribe to the podcast. That way you aren't going to miss any of the future episodes that we've got lined up for you. Until next time, remember that you are the author of your life. You hold the pen, and you can write whatever script you want for yourself. So go out today and write yourself a beautiful story.